We do indeed have audio. Welcome back. Today we're going to try and do something quick. I guess I didn't think about it. We'll do it on the Mac if need be. We can do it that way. Give me one moment. I have to. Wow. Are we dropping frames? Or am I going to blue screen in the middle of this? I bet you we blue screen. Alright, let me switch. Let me switch up there. Alright, that's a little more steady. Alright. We are going to have to set up video. It's all some craziness, as always. And this is every day. These great Logitech cameras. Can't remember their settings in OBS. You can remember some, but not all. So it's a constant annoyance. Jump that, hit apply. It's going to get bright for a moment. Don't mind that. Turn those off, turn that off, hit apply. Go back, ready for bright, dim it down, 40 something. That works. Alright, apply, okay. Alright, we have a little bit of a thing going. Let me show you here. You can see I have a toaster. Actually, let's bring over the Sony. Okay, the Sony will kind of get us in there, I suppose. Let's see. Do we have video, or did it not? Did it not load? Okay, so it's loaded, but it's not. So we tried deactivate and activate. I guess no, for some reason we're not getting, we're where we need to be. But for some reason it is not having it today. We get that going, but not the camera. Let's try resetting the cam link. Gotta love this every day. I fight every day. Just in case I have the wrong cable and I'm a dummy, let's try the other one. That one would be me. That goes to the back, that goes to the front. Okay, so we have to do it without the Sony. Right as I started the live stream today, getting back to the cloning thing, we have a dock here. I don't want to move it too much, but I do want to show that there are some blinking, we have a blinking light there. So what this is a standalone. This is a USB 3 dock. You can stick 2 hard drives in. You can do a 2.5 inch and a 3.5 inch, or a 3.5 and 2.5, 2 3.5s, 2 2.5s. Either way, it can be standalone, meaning not plugged into a computer or Mac with I don't know if it even works with Mac, with the software. But you can plug it in with the USB 3 cable and copy data to from the drives. Obviously you're copying to and from two drives that are here going into the computer. They're going to slow each other down. They're on the same bus. Or it can go standalone, not plugged in. You plug in the drive you want to clone in slot A, or source A, target B, it's marked here, and click your button twice on the front, and it just does a clone of the drive. So we had a clean install of this drive here. This is that old school Dell Latitude D630. We had a clean install. I was just going to do the clean install, but I figured, we'll do it from the original aging hard drive. We're doing a clone of it just to save it. We have a clean Windows install, and instead of completely killing the drive, we'll have the clone we made to pull the data from. A data backup could be, in some senses, a little harder on it than cloning it, I hope. Not always. I've had aging, failing drives go under both circumstances, whether cloning or doing the backup. And also, for a comparison, and this will probably going to drag the computer to a screeching halt, we've got Acronis opened over here. I am copying my Windows install, which is my source disk, this 128 gig SSD, plugged into a USB 3 port. That's the source disk. No, okay, so they're telling me do that. Let's do this. It's telling me to run a check on it. So we're going to be even further behind the little Did one of you get wiped out? Oh, never mind. That was a Linux. Okay, perfect example. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our Windows install on the 240 gig. I forgot that I did put Linux on it. That's why it can't read it. Okay, so let's get our 240 gig of the new install of the Dell. And this is strictly for a cloning comparison is why I wanted to do this. Okay, system reserved. There is the Windows partition. And this is a 240 gig drive. We're going to see if Acronis can see it as well as the, oh boy, what do you want to call it? As well as the other drive. That's what I often have trouble with on the same computer. So we have our 223.6 here, and then our 320, which is the 298.1. So this is our source drive. We're going to hit next and see if we can grind this computer to a screeching halt while streaming. I should do this on an external. I think we learned this lesson once before, but why not try it again? Okay, yes, you can wipe out the partitions, copy the partitions without changes, next, and we're going to proceed. Stuff's about to get wacky. I can't wait. So we're going to let Acronis roll along. We're going to let our little toaster here roll along. This is the, as called many times, toaster from the all-in-one. We pulled it over to do standalone instead of having it plugged into the all-in-one. We're going to run a contest, see who wins. This was started at the beginning of the live stream. Acronis was literally started now. You saw me start Acronis, so that's how much of a head start it had. Like 9 minutes. Does that really not work? Oh, I know why. this camera, activate, deactivate, cam link, find it, activate, and alright, we got the Sony. Alright, now that we know the Sony source works, we'll go ahead and do what I was going to do in the first place. Let's DVI when we don't want DVI. First off, let's move our dock out of the way so we're not smashing into it while it's doing its little clone. We'll set up our Mac. What do I have open there? Monitors. Okay, we are going to mirror. As soon as I find the HDMI cable, we'll go out our little DisplayPort connector. And we need an HDMI cable to reach to our cam link. Okay, so we're going to disable our Sony real quick here. Give me a moment, we'll switch over to the bird cam. And while we're doing that, let's check in on Acronis. 11 minutes left. We are at about 50% on the dock there. So I actually do have one more HDMI source I can use, but I'm out of USB ports. So, yeah, so that's what you get when you build your system based on, how do I want to say it? There's a word I'm looking for. Mini ITX. When you build your system around a mini ITX motherboard and case, it is definitely no wonder whatsoever that you're out of USB ports. They don't come with many. It had about as many as I could find at the time. But hey. Alright, so a brief amount of work we're going to get going here. Let's switch back to our source. What do we have? Right, not the Sony. Hit OK. Oh, we're on the LCD. So let's go there. Still at 50% on the dock. Roughly 11 minutes left if I didn't bump any of the USB for Acronis. The whole computer hasn't screeched to a halt yet. Let's pipe in the stuff concerning the Mac. Scaled. Alright, I give up. I give up. Default for display, 1440 by 9. Truth be told, it's probably a bad HDMI cable. It's just not going to take it no way, no how. Well, that's what you get for not bringing yours in. Alright, back to Back to the Sony. Why? Because I know that will work. If I don't rip the HDMI cable out, that is. Or the HDMI. The USB 2 cable. And we're doing this the old school way. Get my source back that actually works. This kind of just messing around at the end of the day anyhow, so. Custom 1920. 1920 by 1080. Is it back? Okay, it indeed is. Thank you for working. All right, so let's do this the old-fashioned way, since we can't. This up. All right, we're gonna bring up the libsyn page while our clones are ripping away. Go ahead and log in. We have a few minutes. Where are these numbers coming from, people? That's what I want to know. Alright, we're going to plug in the SSD and get to work. We're going to publish an episode while we're waiting on our clones. We're at 50% still. 11 minutes. Tell me Acronis froze. It could have. 10 minutes. Alright, it is. It officially moved down while I was looking at it, and then you have 50% on the dock. I just want to see if either of these guys will finish before we get this done. Alright, let's open up our audition. What fun this is going to be, looking at a monitor when we could literally should be able to feed it out. It won't grab this source. Why? I don't know. So while we're here, we need to open the file, and this is the very end after everything is edited. And this is the mess I go through for, and it's long and convoluted, but it's the way I learned, and I like it. So I have the whole episode. This is the one where the most recent guest we had on, Rhett, with Tim and I, he does the paranormal case report show. So we're going to unselect everything. Command A, Control A. If you're on Command A on Mac, Control A on PC. Select it all. We want to export. So go to File, Export, Multi-track Mixdown. We're going to do the entire session. We have to change it to a few things. I haven't came up with the title yet, so we'll do it on the spot. Did we do that? No, let's do it. We're going to get hit for a title. We're going to call this one Ghost Hunters. I don't think that's a title that I've used already. We do need an MP3. We're going to check to make sure our episode 101 is in the 1027 folder. It is. Okay. Ghost Hunters MP3. We will save it as an MP3. Mono, in this case. Trying to get in a little more on that. We're as bright as it gets, so you kind of got to deal with it. 128 kilobytes a second, mono, 24-bit. I know, it's stupid. Go to 32-bit. Finally, the last thing, I'm going to go to this section here. If you're in Audition, I always make sure that mono is selected. When I want to export separate files, you can change that down here from entire session to selected clips, and then you can actually select them here and uncheck your file up here, and you won't end up with a single file with everything combined. You end up with individual tracks, which is part of the process earlier in the game. Right now we want the mono MP3 file. Let's go ahead and save it. Alright, 50%. While this is doing, 8 seconds left, 50% on the dock. Acronis is quite a surprise. I thought I bumped the USB cable and it just disconnected on me. Thought it was donezo. Alright, our file has exported. One other thing that I do, and if you are getting into creating podcast episodes, audio and audio show at all, I also do an export of the same file, same title, and we called this one Ghost Hunters. Correct? Yes, Ghost Hunters. Save it in the same folder, but I save it as WAV. It's is WAV lossless compared to MP3? I'm pretty sure it may be 44,100 hertz. Source channels 24-bit. It is mono, as I said, 24-bit. I checked this here. I still save WAV as mono. Entire session, okay. And finally, we're going to hit OK and save our WAV file. A few more steps, and we will be able to publish. Alright, so let's check back. We are still at 50%. This had a 9-minute head start. We are cloning 120 gig drive over to another drive on the same station. 9-minute head start. Acronis did a 240 gig drive, and it wasn't packed full of data. It was a base Windows install. Okay. Base Windows install. Base Windows install, both cloned. 120 gig drive for this one in the dock. 240 gig on the computer here. Disk has successfully been cloned. That's great. We're going to go ahead and close out Acronis. And what else? Go back to our above cam, bird cam. We're going to let that one run out for the rest of the day and take the last few minutes and publish the rest of this. Alright, now that I can unplug, let's attempt to plug in my other cam link, the one that likes me. Move the mouse back where it belongs. And also, one thing of note, here is the way. We did USB 3 to USB 2 clone, plugged into the computer. And then the standalone. We'll let the standalone finish. We have our file. Just so you can kind of see what is going on, we're going to jump off of the Mac side of things. We'll actually log out and eject our drive and go over to our screen here. And we should be able to publish that way without much hassle. I was going to do some more messing around with HDMI and the cam link and trying to get it to link up, but why? It's dumb. Alright, so what we're going to do, make this quick and easy and simple. We need to find our MP3 file. We have it there. We're going to open up iTunes. This is, I think this is the, like an old-fashioned way. I think you can add ID3 tags to your podcast a different way, but we're going to tackle it this way. Add a file to the library. And then we're going to browse to the MP3 that we just saved when we were in Audition on the Mac, which would be here, the Ghost Hunters MP3, 11.6, 545. Let's take and open that. And where are we at? guess we don't really need, do we need that? What is that? Display capture, cam link front. Let me shut that off. That's just being a distraction. Alright, we added the file to iTunes, but since it's an MP3, it's not going to show up under podcast. It's actually going to go under music. So we're going to click on it, go to our dots. This is if you're going to add your ID3 tags or metadata this way, you can do it this way. After you hit the dots, album info. And the first thing I changed to get there, so I'm typing, because I could just start typing and adding stuff in whatever fields. Yeah, no. You're going to go to options, change it over to a podcast, member playback position. And I don't know if this applies for my iTunes only or when anybody else would listen to it. I guess it depends on their podcatcher or whatever software they use to listen, how it's going to work. So after that, I go over to sorting, Ghost Hunters, the podcast, obviously, the one we do on Sunday, and a social experience, the authors. I do have a few authors saved in here from past episodes. Some people are just involved as the inspiration, some people are involved as host, and then we need to add our guest. And I hope I spell this right. That was the name for the show. We'll check our file. Everything looks right. 41.5 megabytes mono. It is an MP3 MPEG audio file, 128 kilobytes per second, 44,100. ID3 tag 23. I don't know when the last time that changed. Encoded with Fraunhofer today. This is the date we added it. This is the actual date of the show. Whenever I go back to details, I do the 10. I'm going to actually do the date of when the show was. Genre, podcast. Add our artwork. Now the question is, do we want to add the normal bland logo, or do we want to spice it up with the red logo, because it was the one where we had on it covered the live stream. If anybody watched that, it was a paranormal case report. So we can do the red one. That fits it. We'll do it. We just used that not long ago, but we'll go ahead and use it again. And then finally, our description. Put it in quotes, correct? Damn you, capital letters. You're catching me. You need to speech it right. Add the period. Let's see if we can find it. Actually, we can, possibly. Let's do a search. Oh, I said iTunes, sorry. Apple Podcasts. And there it is. So, let's go ahead and copy that link to it. And go back to our iTunes. I actually kind of dig that artwork. I said that on the show, but I really do. It's simple. It's not super colorful, and it's not super boring. And Apple had to approve it to let it get in there, so... Skip down one, Control V, paste it in. Skip down another one. And we're going to add a little bit. skip. And this is the easy part where we need to pull down the veil, pull down the veil. We need to grab the rest of this. I guarantee, we don't want to save, and I hit delete like a fool. Don't save. Let's go ahead and reopen it. Just don't delete it. Hit Control C, dummy. Control C. Alt F4 closes it. Let's put this back up. Get our iTunes. Control V. And we're going to start backspace up. And that should be our description. I know for a fact this is not going to fit, but we're still going to copy it anyhow. Alright, checking our tabs. This is going to disappear as soon as you go to, if you click off, this disappears. You're only going to get part of it because it only shows part of it within iTunes and I think in Apple Podcasts. But if you use an actual different podcast app, you should be able to see the full description. Some people have pages and notes like it's the transcription of their podcast. I'm pretty sure they're not doing this with iTunes if that is the case. And there is the publishing. I'm going to check everything else. I know the description's good for what I want. Actually, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we'll do that. We're going to recopy. Copy. Now, so far, so good. This is only adding the metadata to the show. So we're going to go to details. Looks good. Artwork. It kept our 10/27 date. It's got the artwork for the show. That much of the description it's showing. Those options. Those options. That date. We're going to go back to description. I always do this. I don't know if it works any better. Then I do Control V to repaste it back in and hit OK. Now it's going to disappear from our music. Let's go back to podcast. There it is, along with other published episodes. And now that we have that, all that literally did was so when we look at the file, we can have some other info. Date created. It does have contributing artist, album artist, all that. Alright, that's good. Libsyn, log in. We're going to go to upload it from hard drive, and we are going to pick the one that we just added the ID3 tags to, which is here, MP3. Some of the fields will auto-populate just from what we put when we were doing this within, I call it iTunes because it's still the iTunes logo. That's how it launches. It's what I installed it as. Whether it changes to Apple Podcast in the future or they do away with it, I continue using it until I find a better alternative. It is time to get out of here, so we're literally going to finish this. We're going to be selective about our description. Alright, I close that message. The title's correct. We're going to go to details. Title's correct here. They don't like it when you have like when you do, whatever, episode and then a number or a number with it. Yeah, they usually tell you to keep out of it. You can add it to your title. It's just going to make it confusing, so I make the titles different. There is a spot for an episode. Now, the description that I copied earlier when still in iTunes, you can't right-click and paste. What you can do is put your cursor there and hit Control V, and paste that description in that you copied earlier. So now is when we have to start being selective for this part. Actually, this one I think we can get away with it. The next one is where we're going to run into trouble, and that is the Apple Podcast optimization. Let's do it. Control V. Character count 547. Are they going to give us a limit episode number? It would be 101. Let's right click, open in a new link. I forget what the last one and new one was heard. Okay, so that was 100. This is 101. Again, we've got our artwork there. If we wanted to add a widescreen image, which for some I do, most I don't. Now the part with social, Facebook, you can kind of paste what you want. If you paste the same thing, okay, we're going to lose a little bit of it. Just a little bit of it. We'll lose that part, keep the top. Link to his show. Cut that. Leave that. And being a lot shorter and we don't need all our shell and info out there, hopefully it stays in the description. We're going to copy that, paste it. It'll be a short Twitter post. Twitter is so limiting. You went up from 140 to what? 256. Go to scheduling, and we're ready. I mean, we could do an expiration date, set an expiration date for when it can be no longer downloaded. Based on release schedule, like if they're available or always available, we could have this release in the future. Good for if you're going on vacation and you have a couple episodes already recorded and edited, ready to go. You upload them, set a release schedule, and then you have all these other destinations you can publish to. With that, we are going to hit publish. We didn't get any little exclamation points. Okay, so we did. So we have to go change this before it's going to upload. Apple Podcast. 512, we went to 547. And there we go. Publish. Hopefully it'll go now. Still more than 512. It says 507. Nope, it went. Alright. Ta-da! That's how you do it. That is how you publish a podcast episode. I was going to do it on the Happy Mac, but we didn't end up using it, so... Anyhow, it is time for dinner with the kiddos. I am out of here for the day. Check back tomorrow. We're going to do some other fun stuff. We did clone this drive. Let's do a quick quick boot test on the Dell, and just to say, we have been talking. We uploaded that published that podcast episode. That's just an audio show. It's not a live stream. We're still dinging along here on our dock. I don't know if people can see that blinking away. No, you can, but you can't because we have a filter on. So I promise you, it is on 100%. There, you can see it dinging away. I don't want to bump them or drop it. So yeah, it's at 100%. So it's finishing up that clone. Those are good solutions if you don't want to employ software. If you don't want to employ being connected to a computer, or if you want a standalone dock. Now there probably are some that are faster. You could probably have two of these that are USB 3, plug them both, which this is, plug them both into a computer to separate USB ports that are on a different bus. Like if you had two separate USB 3 ports, like a front one and then one on the back of your motherboard, and it would probably copy dock to dock faster than it is on this dock from source to target. I don't know. Can't guarantee, say one way or the other without trying it, but it's still going. It is good though for when you just want to clone something and have it continue on in the background while you're doing what you're doing. So there, we cloned with the Cronus, and one we're actually booting right here. We're actually going to boot up the install that we just did. We have a little SSD, and it should fly up fairly quickly. Possibly not. But this is the one we cloned it to. This new install, we cloned it over to a hard drive. When you guys finish, we will pull you out of there. Alright, we're up to Windows. And why? Why an SSD? Why an SSD in an old ancient computer like this? It will give it a little bit of a speed bump. It's not a new lease on life, but it is somewhat more of a lease on life. Does that make sense? It is, it's a little better than a spinny mechanical hard drive. The original drive out of it is failing, clicking all over the place. Took 2 tries to actually get a clone of it. 2 tries. So, and a data backup right now is probably going to kill it, so we're going to pull the data backup from the actual clone. Anyhow, a bit of insight into different ways to clone, what you can expect, the other way what you can expect, and how to publish a podcast episode with Libsyn. Anyhow, have a good evening. Thanks for clicking the link, hanging out. Good morning, good afternoon. Certainly it's one of those whenever you get to this, or if you already made it here. Thank you. We'll be back again tomorrow for some kind of train wreck. I'm certain of it.